Tomilson. I am against this bill. Now, I know some of you know me in a professional manner, but I do want you to know that I am here today just on my own accord. It took me a little bit to get here. I wasn't prepared for you all to meet today, so I actually have on my assistant shoes, so I didn't wear my tennis shoes in here, so y'all should be happy about that. But I am very glad that you were able to define just a little bit about some of the questions that I know a lot of us had about the bill. So the print, I know a lot of us had a question about that, which was, and what you explained, which was the legal excessive interest in sexual matters. Now, I do want to note, this is something that I know a lot of us have been talking about. Most of us have never had the opportunity to come in here and discuss anything about Hooters before, whether we are for or against that. And that is a family-oriented business. That's what they say about that. And I know that a lot of you are very, very concerned about stripping the innocence away from children. But we have never been able to have a discussion together about that, whether we're for or against it. So I want you to know that that really makes the LGBT community feel like that, like what we're doing here today is a personal attack. That's why you're feeling the passion that you're feeling today. Because we've never had any other discussions besides the innocence of children until it comes to the LGBTQ community, just really preserving that innocence. So that's the reason why your constituents are coming to you and they're discussing this with you. They're really trying to convince you to also represent them in this time. I also really want to remind you that at the beginning of this session, which I know has just started, that Sarah Huckabee Sanders, our new governor, said that the freedom and the responsibility is going to be given back to Arkansans, which a lot of individuals are very excited about that. And the 50 family members that you were able to survey, they said that they would not choose to take their children to drag shows, and they haven't done that. I love that statement. I love what you were saying, that they have not done that, and it was that choice that they had. I think if we are going to give choices back to Arkansans, it's all Arkansans. It's not just the Arkansans that our values align with. It's not just the Arkansans that your values align with, or that your walks of life go hand in hand with. It has to be everyone. We can leave this choice up to family members. They do not have to take their children to drag shows. They don't have to do that if they don't want to, but we can leave this decision up to family members if we want to. I think that you have to understand that having a bill that specifically says wearing clothing, and I'm just going to abbreviate this, but wearing clothing that wasn't assigned to you at gender, that this is a bridge for hate and for weaponizing violence. This is making something very sturdy. Whether if that's something that you're going to do, you have to understand that the people in Arkansas will use this. Whether it's individuals that are just listening to you talking and forming their own opinion, I want to ask you to represent everyone, not just the people that think like you do personally, but represent the constituents that don't think like you, that don't live a life like you. Put it upon yourself to go out of your way to represent the other individuals that are in your constituency, please. Thank you.
You take question. Senator Hammer, you're first.
Thank you, Chair. Would you please identify yourself again?
I will. Allie Tomilson.
Okay, and you recognize, or you said that some of us may know you, and I'm trying to make the connection where I might know you from.
So I do a lot of disability rights work. Yes, but today I am here just in a personal matter, just to try to speak to you as a constituent.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then, I may be wrong on this, so you correct me if I am. I don't mind being corrected, but it seems to me like when Governor Huckabee Sanders made that comment, that she was speaking about it in terms of educational choices and school choices. I don't recall that statement being made in the broad characterization that you've used. Could you speak to that, please? That, and she also used that when we were talking about COVID and pulling back on some of those restrictions, so she made that also. In context to those two things. Yes, and so I know that a lot of her platform has been about giving choices, but choice and personal responsibility back to Arkansans. So no, it has not been used specifically to this,
but a lot of the platform and a lot of the agreements from the majority of the seats that are held has been all about personal freedoms and choices. And I think that that should be able to run deep within everything that's trying to be passed.
Okay, I think that would be her choice and not ours to invoke upon her without her being here to speak to that. But I just want to bring that clarity that that's the way I remember the context of which that segment was made. And then the last thing is simply this. You know, a couple of things I've heard today from different presenters have included the word hate. And I'm just curious, what is your opinion as far as what drove the decision for the LGBTQ, never getting it right, I apologize, or in this case, the drag queens, because they are being used in the same terminology. What do you think it is that drove them to go after private businesses and about other entities who maybe disagree with lifestyle? Because there seems to be a little bit of hypocrisy that we want to be defended over here, but we at the same time want to go after those who disagree with us. And I'm trying to rationalize what's the difference, if it's all right to do it one way but not do it the other. And I'd be curious to hear your response. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, when you say go after, will you just explain that to me? Because I don't want to speak about something that I don't know. I want to be able to actually tell you that I don't have the information on that.
Well, I'm just thinking about, I'm thinking about the usage of the law, the usage of the court system to go after private businesses who disagree with the lifestyle, but yet they end up getting dragged into court, and it would seem like hate would be equally applied, that if we're being accused, or others are being accused of being projected as hating the population under discussion, that it has been equally displayed by the population under discussion toward others who disagree with them. And I'm trying to rationalize, why is it okay for one and not for the other from the perspective that you're speaking against this bill?
So, Senator Hammer, I want to be able to answer any question if I can, but I never want to answer a question if I don't feel comfortable doing that. But you have a true expert here in the room, someone that has lived that life, someone that actually works in drag, and I would love to just pass that microphone along. I know that I can't now since they've already done that testimony, but I would really like to just defer that since I am not actually the expert on that in the room.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you as, I'm going to leave it with your testimony because your words are your words, and that word was used in your testimony, so I'll leave it with you, and if you choose not to answer it, I can accept that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, so and I just want to clarify, not hate. So I did not use the word hate on that part. It was just a personal attack in that I felt like it would be used from other Arkansans, so everyday Arkansans, to feel like it was okay to hate. So not necessarily business owners or anything like that, just everyday people to be able to hate, but a personal attack from the legislature. So I'm sorry if there was any mix-up in that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Senator Sullivan, you recognize your question.
You talked about people have not had an opportunity to talk about these issues of child protection, yet we have a whole list on this bill of businesses that have been listed as adult businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So those conversations have happened.
So are those adult businesses are already, children are already not allowed to go there, right?
But you made the comment that we've never had in the past, we've never had the opportunity to talk about protecting children from whatever. But we have, because otherwise we wouldn't have adult businesses.
Adult businesses,
So
okay.
that your statement doesn't seem to ring true.
I'm so sorry about that. So I guess what I'm saying
Am I correct?
I should have reworded it and made it clearer.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so our generation that you're speaking with today, so around the same, we have Hooters, and I will not tell you how long that it's been here. I don't want to speak to something that's untrue, but that seems to be a family-oriented business. It's out there. It rings to be something that you can bring the whole family to because it's a sports bar and it's a restaurant. But it's also used to overly sexualize the female population in that, and we do know that.
Well, whoa. So that, I apologize, may I respond to your statement?
Yes, as long as you let me follow up.
If they were violating the law, they'd be listed under an adult business, and they're not.
Oh, I'm so sorry if that's what you thought that I was saying. I'm so sorry.
Well, I thought you were saying that Hooters sexualized children. And if they did, they would be classified as an adult business.
No, and I would also want to make sure that we know that drag queens do not sexualize children either.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I must have misread the bill wrong if we are saying that drag queens sexualize the bill. Was that what we were doing? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much for letting me ask you that question. Thank you.
Senator Kennedy, you recognize the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, my question, and I love the statement that you said about taking the innocence of children, because to me, being a freshman, going in and looking at I had to look at the full context of the existing law versus the amendment that's being added to this law. And so I love that you've identified that children are worth preserving their innocence. I think, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that's the way I understood your comment. But to me, if you read the legislative intent, and it's public, you can look at it, and you look through everything in context, the existing bill and the amendment, I don't think, and I think the questions have been answered, that this is intended as an attack, or as someone said, aims to ban drag shows. I don't think any of that is the intent, the legislative intent of this amendment. I think the legislative intent of the existing law with this addition is found in number 2, where it says adult-oriented businesses should be separated from schools, playgrounds, places of worship, and other places frequented by children to minimize the impact of secondary effects of the adult-oriented business. And the pretext to all of this, there were a number of Supreme Court cases and other state cases that were discussed that talked about prurient, and I think it is well defined in the law. Maybe there's a disagreement as to whether it's well defined in Arkansas or not, but the Supreme Court and others have defined it. I'm not an attorney. I don't profess to be an attorney. I don't want to be an attorney, but I do read. And while it is also, the reference was to zoning, I think that everything we're talking about is in reference to zoning to protect the innocence of the children. And so I think the broad characterizations that we've heard here is really not the intent. The legislative, I don't want to speak for the sponsors, but to me, that's where I think we're at now. That being said, to your Hooters point, Hooters does have restrictions. It's a bar, and it cannot be within a certain distance of many of these places. And I don't know that any of us would want to change that. But are there any other categories of these adult-oriented businesses that you feel like that are listed in not in the amendment, but in the code that should be revisited as well?
I think that the Hooters, what I was trying to tell you is that the individuals that you're hearing from are speaking to you with passion because they do feel like they're being attacked. Because we hear a lot about this innocence with children when it comes to the LGBTQ community. So I know that we are all very hung up on the word Hooters, and so I'm so sorry to blatantly put that out there. Maybe I should have just used a broader word of businesses, but I wanted you to know that there is no disrespect for the individuals that are coming in here. You're feeling the passion because individuals are feeling like they are blatantly being attacked, and there's a lot of legislation that's coming down on them because they are feeling like their jobs, their self-expression, different things like that are taking the innocence away from children. And that's just not the case. So there are parades, there are festivals, there are individuals that are fully clothed, even their sleeves completely rolled down, so my arms are showing more than what you'll see at a lot of festivals. We just went to one in Conway, and it's a beautiful experience, and there's nothing being sexualized at all about that. But the merit of the art, how will the court see that? And it just seems like it can be really dangerous and a slippery slope.
Okay, not seeing any more questions. Thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the questions. I hope you all have a great day.